Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about Mark. And the title of today's message is Diligently Serve. Now, I don't know about you, but throughout my life, I've had opportunities to be in the public eye and to be in front of people and to do things that are publicly acknowledged and recognized. But there have been other times in my life where I've been behind the scenes, whether it's behind a camera or whether it's working at a computer to help someone else out. And this is important because, or Mark's story is important because you may not be the person in the action, but that doesn't diminish your role and how important you are. So I want to read to you the book of Romans chapter 12, verses 7 through 8. And what this says about how important it is to sometimes play the background role. Because the story of Mark is kind of like that. I mean, he writes the book of Mark, but a lot of scholars believe that it was actually Peter's story. He accompanies Paul and Barnabas, his cousin, but it doesn't necessarily feature him, other than a few difficulties that he had with Paul that the Bible talks about. There's no book of Mark that tells Mark's story. There's the book of Mark that tells the story of Jesus. There's the book of Mark that tells the story of Jesus from what some believe is Peter's perspective. But at the end of the day, he is a character who was most known for the help that he provided other main characters. And so for us, it's important to know that sometimes we'll play a main central role, but there are other roles that we play in our lives that are just as important. So listen to what Paul says, verse 7, chapter 12 of the book of Romans. If your gift is serving others, serve them well. Now, it goes on to talk about being a teacher and teaching well, encourage well. If your gift is giving, give generously. If God has given you leadership abilities, take the responsibility seriously. And if you have the gift of showing kindness to others, do it gladly. This is a thing that catches my attention because these things are not necessarily public things. They're not things that we show off. In fact, there's a story about a woman who gives all that she had. Jesus recognizes her, but she didn't make a big show of it. A widow, she had nothing, and what the last little bit of money that she had, she goes and she puts as an offering to the Lord. Now, there were other people who had much more than her, who made a big show of the great things that they had done for God. Look at all the money that I'm giving. Look at all the, and clang, 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 you'd hear the money fall into the giving box, into the plate. But the reality is that Jesus didn't acknowledge them. He acknowledged this woman, a woman who quietly gave all that she had. You know, and serving is one of those things. It's one of those things that a lot of us do. We serve in churches, we serve in ministries, and we help out. And really the help that we're providing is setting up some chairs or helping setting up a piece of sound equipment. You know, I know of a ministry that is dedicated only to prayer. And while the church service is going on, they're in one part of the church, a group of people just on their knees praying to God that he would bless the service and that he would impact each person's hearts. Their role is just as important as the preacher up on the stage delivering a word from the Lord, a message from God. You know, and that's why it's important for us to know that whatever role that we are playing, we need to do it diligently. We need to do it well, to the best of our abilities, as if we are working for God and not just for man. Now, the gospel according to Mark is one that is very impactful, packed full of action, right? Kind of like Peter was, just a man that was a man of action and dedicated to that. And we get this very condensed version of the events that happen. Mark starts off with action and ends in action. Here's the great thing about it. Mark's gospel, according to scholars, is traditionally geared for the Romans. Like, it was meant to reach people who were people of action. So his role was significant and his impact was huge. And it may not have been so obvious at first, but God blessed his work and his diligence. And that's where we need to be. We need to be people who are diligent and work at whatever God has put in our hands to do, and do it well. I was talking to my kids the other day because they've, the fight that all parents have with their kids is keep your room clean, fix your bed, brush your teeth, And I got tired of the bribe and threat cycle where it's like you either threaten them to do what they're supposed to do or you bribe them to do the things that they're supposed to do. And I'm like, that's not working for me anymore. There has to be something more. And I sat with them and I talked to them, and they're 6 years old and 8 years old. And I said to them, guys, look, you guys are gonna be men one day and you're gonna be responsible for a family. And that responsibility, that diligence starts here. You need to be diligent and do the things that God has put in your hands to do right now. So if God has given you the responsibility of a room, then be responsible with your room. Make sure that it's kept clean. Make sure that you've picked up your toys. Make sure that you're being obedient to your mother, because this is the responsibility God has given you today. You're gonna lead people one day. But right now you need to lead yourself well and be responsible where you are. And it may be that it went over their heads that day, but I've kept repeating this lesson and they've stepped up to the responsibility. And I tell them, not because you're being threatened, not because you're gonna get a gift, but because it's the right thing to do. Sometimes we just have to serve and do the thing because it's what God's calling us to do. To be responsible, to be men who do the hard work, to do the work up front, but do the work in the back as well. That we do it great for the glory of God. I hope this helps and encourages you today. Have a great day. May God bless you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope you were blessed by the material. We also want to remind you that there are several great ways to make sure you're staying up to date on our content as part of our 360 Legacy Plan. First, subscribe to this channel by clicking subscribe below. You can also download our incredible new app in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. Just search Legacy Minded Men. And finally, visit our website at legacymindedmen.org for more information on what we believe, upcoming events, and how to join a group. Thanks again for watching.